All right, welcome everyone to the judiciary decision-making hearing this Wednesday morning. If we have a catastrophic technical failure on the Zoom side, we'll try again tomorrow at 10:01 a.m. That's Thursday, February 29th. Just a big stack of DMs to do, so we'll start at the top of the agenda, which is SB 2591. This imposes a fine on any landowner that fails to disclose or record the existence of burial sites or archaeological sites on their property to the Bureau of Conveyances, and fails to register the property with the Hawaii Registrar of Historic Places. Recommendation here is to pass with some amendments. I'd like to accept OHA's amendment, which would remove the requirement that the property be recorded with the Hawaii Registrar of, the Register of Historic Places. I do have prior concurrence from both previous chairs to make that change. Any questions or concerns? If not, Senator Elefante is being kind enough to act as vice chair today for the vote.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2591 SD1 with amendments. Chair Rhodes.
Aye.
Vice Chair Gabbard is excused. I vote aye. Senator San Buenaventura.
Aye.
Senator Awa is excused. Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 2575. This prohibits the mining, extraction, and removal of minerals from the seabed and all state marine waters under certain conditions. Recommendation here is to pass as is. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Elefante.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2575 as is of the three members present. Any no votes or votes with reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Next up is SB 2569. This would allow a person who employs or contracts with a healthcare worker who suffers an act of violence at the healthcare facility to report the event to law enforcement and petition for a temporary restraining order and injunction under certain circumstances. Our recommendation here is to pass with technical amendments only. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Elefante.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2569 SD1 with amendments, noting the presence of Senator Awa. Any no votes or votes with reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 2562. This prohibits individuals without a valid, unrevoked license obtained from the Hawaii Board of Veterinary Medicine from performing any surgical process on any animal. One of the lead chair has asked me just to put a bad date on it, and I had some potential amendments, but we'll just go with April 14, 2112 for the moment, and that would be the only change. Questions or concerns?
Concern on this one?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, hang on. Senator Wall first.
Yeah, late concern from constituents, pig farmers who castrate their pigs for sale. This would put them out of business. Basically, we submitted testimony late on that, so that's on record.
Senator San Buenaventura.
Yes, I have concerns also on this one. Ranchers have reached out to me basically saying it also would put them out of business if they're not going to be allowed to be able to castrate their animals.
Yeah, so one of my proposed amendments was to apply it only to pet animals.
I would have been okay with that.
So I would just ask the committee's indulgence to move it along. I don't think, since it has a bad date, there'll be plenty of opportunities to make our positions known on that, but I don't believe this will be the final version. Okay. Senator Elefante for the vote.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2562 SD1 with amendments. Of the four members present, any no votes or votes with reservation?
Reservation.
No vote for Senator Awa, reservations for Senator San Buenaventura. Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 2561. This prohibits intentionally leaving or confining pet animals in a vehicle under conditions that endanger their health, safety, or well-being. Okay, so the recommendation is to, and I do have prior concurrence from Chair Wakai. All right, so on this one also, I'll just put a bad date on it, April 14, 2112, and I don't believe this will be the final version of this one either, but our recommendation is to go ahead and move it forward. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Elefante.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2561 SD1 with amendments of the four members present. Any no votes or votes with reservations?
No.
No vote for Senator Awa. Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 2560. This provides that each lease that the Department of Agriculture enters into, renews, or extends after the effective date of this act shall authorize the DOE to enter the lease premises, require a lessee to maintain control of any invasive pest, terminate the lease if the lessee refuses the DOE entry. On this one, the recommendation is to pass with some amendments. We'll use pest instead of invasive pest, as pest is defined in Chapter 1 or Section 150A-2, and Department of Ag will be required to disclose any pests it knows of or should have known of when the lease is signed.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
We do not
Oh, all right. Okay, never mind. I'll take all that back. Let's see. I think it's worth moving forward. Again, I'll put a bad date on it, April 14, 2112. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Elefante.
Okay, Chair's recommendations to pass SB 2560 SD1 with amendments of the 4 members present. Any no votes or votes with reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Thank you, members. Next up is SB 2546. This requires hunting guides who take their clients to hunt on private lands to first obtain written permission from the owner. Recommendation here is to pass as is. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Elefante.
Okay, Chair's recommendations to pass SB 2546 SD1 as is of the 4 members present. Any no votes or votes with reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 2350 establishes a separate prohibition on driving motor vehicles having noisy mufflers on public highways in high-density areas. And the bill defines high-density areas as counties with populations greater than 500,000. Recommendation here is to pass with some amendments. I'd like to accept the AG's amendment to delete the language about a police officer conducting an examination and inspection relating to a noisy muffler by deleting subsection 3 on page 3, amend the preamble to more accurately describe the bill. There's technical amendments. And we'd also like to raise the fines for the violation in a high-density area to $200 for the first offense, $500 for the second and 5 years, and $1,500 for the third and subsequent in 5 years. Questions or concerns? Strange echo of my voice. Oh, that's what it's from. Okay. Any questions or concerns on this one? If not, Senator Elefante.
Okay, Chair's recommendations to pass SB 2350 SD1 with amendments of the 4 members present. Any no votes or votes with reservations?
No.
No vote for Senator Wah. Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 2308. This establishes additional fines and penalties for convictions of speeding in a school zone. We'd just like to insert a savings clause, and other than that, I think it's good to go. Questions or concerns?
Yeah, my concern is this basically doesn't actually reduce speeding. Speed humps have been shown to get better at reducing speeding instead of increasing penalties on those who may be the least to afford it. So with that, I'm just going to be voting with reservations. I see the need for it, but this is ineffective and punishes people who may not be able to afford it.
Okay, understood. Other questions or concerns? If not, Senator Elefante.
With amendments, yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Chair's recommendations to pass SB 2308 with amendments of the 4 members present, noting the reservations from Senator San Buenaventura. Any other reservations or no votes? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Okay, thank you. Next up is SB 2245. This adds a definition for exigent circumstances and amends the definition of imminent harm under the Child Protective Act and does some other things under the CPA. Well, Senator San Buenaventura, this is your bill and came from your committee. So what I would suggest is clarifying language, accepting one of the Attorney General's amendments to clarify language relating to DHS's filing of ex parte motions for protective custody, and then accepting both of the judiciary's amendments specify that the police officer may only assume protective custody of a child without a court order or consent of the child's family if there is a specific and articulable evidence which indicates that there's reasonable cause to believe that immediately assuming such custody is necessary to protect the child from harm. And their second amendment is add a new subparagraph to clarify the procedure when an ex parte motion for protective custody is filed at the same time with the petition, which will allow some reports to be filed later. Is that okay, or do you want some time to look at it, or?
I'm gonna want some time to look at it. I mean, the whole idea is to prevent the automatic removal of children without articulable suspicion, which was, yeah. So I purposely did not accept all of the Attorney General's recommendations because it did not prevent the harm that this was going to cause. So, yes, I'm unwilling to provide prior concurrence at this time.
Okay, well, we'll just pass it as, let's see. Yeah, okay, that's fine. We'll pass it as is. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Alfonte.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2245 SD1 as is. I'll just go down and roll call. Chair Rhodes?
Aye.
Vice Chair Gabbard is excused. I vote aye. Senator San Buenaventura?
Aye.
Senator Awa is excused. Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 2239 relating to consumer protection. This prohibits any person from advertising, displaying, or offering a price for a transient accommodation or resort timeshare, vacation interest plan or unit that does not include all taxes and fees imposed by the government in the price. The recommendation here is to accept ARTA Hawaii's amendments removing the application of this bill to timeshare plans and interests, but maintaining it for rental of specific timeshare units. It also clarified that the disclosure requirement applies to rentals and lettings only. And I do have prior concurrence. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Alfonte.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2239 SD1 with amendments noting the presence of Senator Awa of the 4 members present. Any no votes or votes with reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 2227, authorized the governor should suspend the mortgage foreclosure provisions of Chapter 667 for properties having substantial damage resulting from a governor declared state of emergency. Recommendation here is to pass with some amendments, clarify what is meant by substantial damage to a property by adding a dollar value of 10,000 to read, so that the provision will read any property having substantial damage of $10,000 or more resulting from a disaster under state of emergency proclaimed by the governor. And there's technical amendments as well. Questions or concerns?
Yes, I'm going to be voting with reservations. I would like to put limits on the governor's powers, because basically by allowing unlimited ability to prevent foreclosures, the bankers may be unwilling to provide mortgages in risk-prone areas like those in my county, like those in my district, and for those reasons, reservations, and hopefully we could fix those problems as it moves forward.
Okay, it does have a delayed effective date, so it will go to conference. Other concerns?
Yes, Chair. I'll be voting with reservations, noting the concerns from the realtors as well as the Hawaii Credit Union League. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other comments or questions? If not, Senator Alfonte.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2227 SD1 with amendments of the 4 members present, noting the reservations of Senator San Buenaventura and myself. Any other reservations or no votes? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 2194 relating to unmanned aircraft. Establishes the felony offense of misuse of uncrewed aircraft in the first, second, and third degrees. I'm going to defer this one. The House version has already passed its last committee, so just wait for the House version. Next up is SB 2186. This establishes heightened penalties for the assault and terroristic threats to healthcare workers, clarifies the definition of terroristic threatening. Thought long and hard about this one, but I'm going to defer it. We did pass a bill earlier in this agenda helping healthcare workers, but the problem is that there are other assaults that now become, I think it was on police officers, is only a Class C felony. Is that correct? I believe. Anyway, it leads to a lot of strange results where somebody who's equally deserving of protection is not covered, and I just don't think we can justify going that route, so I'm going to defer that one. SB 2172, relating to boards and commissions, prohibits staff members from assuming the authority and duties of the chairperson. I thought that would have been self-evident, but I guess it's not, so recommendation is to pass as is. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Elafante.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2172 SD1 as is of the 4 members present. Any no votes or votes with reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 2120. This requires retail pet stores to maintain records regarding the sources and medical history of animals sold. On this one, we'll just go ahead and pass it as is. It has a bad effective date. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Yeah, so we will make an amendment. We'll make the penalty a violation as it's defined in the HRS. So it's not a criminal offense, but it can result in a $1,000 fine. So we'll replace the current penalty with a violation, and there are technical amendments as well. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Elafante.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2120 SD1 with amendments of the 4 members present. Any no votes or votes with reservations?
No.
No vote for Senator Wah. Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 2058. This defines community outreach board to mean relating to neighborhood boards, but then it defines community outreach board to mean a board established to serve as a community advisory capacity under county department. After having discussed it with my other attorneys who are working for me this session, we believe there's a title problem, and I'm going to defer it. Okay, SB 2020, relating to deceptive trade practices, makes it a deceptive trade practice to advertise, display, or offer a price for goods or services. Does not include all mandatory fees or charges with certain exceptions. Our recommendation is to pass as is. It does have a bad date. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Elafante.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2020 SD1 as is of the 4 members present. Any no votes or votes with reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 2018. This prohibits the county from changing the land use designation or zoning of a parcel or parcels of property to less intensive use, or reducing the land intensity of use within the existing zoning district below what was allowed under the general plan or specific land use designation and zoning ordinances in effect on January 1, 2024, allows a county to change a land use designation or zoning to less intensive if the county concurrently enacts measures to ensure that there's no net loss in residential capacity. Recommendation is to pass as is. Questions or concerns? Senator Elafante.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In a previous committee, I voted with reservations, and I want to cite the testimony from the City and County's Department of Planning and Permitting. Thank you.
Okay. Other concerns? If not, Senator Elafante.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2018 as is, noting my reservations. Any other reservations or no votes? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Next up is SB 3168, relating to the taking of marine deposits. Authorized Department of Land and Natural Resources to approve permits for research, education, management, or propagation purposes that include the taking of sand, dead coral, and other materials seaward of the shoreline. The recommendation, well, it's not a recommendation. I'm going to defer it. The HB has already passed its last committee in the House. Next up is 3170. This repeals the timeshare commissioners of deeds. The recommendation here is to also wait for the HB because it's already passed its last committee in the House. Next is SB 3191, permanently authorizes the University of Hawaii to continue to regulate conflicts of interest and other issues for technology transfer activities sponsored by the University of Hawaii. The recommendation here is to pass as is. Questions or concerns? Seeing none, Senator Elafante.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 3191 SD1 as is of the 4 members present. Any no votes or votes with reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Next up is SB 3192, makes permanent the Innovation and Commercialization Initiative Program established within the University of Hawaii. Recommendation here is to pass as is. Questions, concerns? If not, Senator
Okay,
Elafante.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 3192 SD1 as is. Of the four members present, any no votes or votes or reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up and last is SB 3226 provides that a maximum time period to grant or deny a business or development-related permit, license, or approval shall only apply if a request for a contested case hearing has not been filed or is required by law. Recommendation here is to pass as is. Questions or concerns? Seeing none, Senator Elafante.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 3226 SD1 as is. Of the four members present, any no votes or votes or reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. That concludes our business.